Hello everyone, this is Lavrentia Valiona with you, and today I'm going to tell you a story, the story of a man's visit. So he came to see me on January 11th, 2025, and he came all the way from another city. I was surprised. I thought, why? What made this person come to me from so far away just so I could look at his finger? I remember that I am not a doctor, and that's exactly what we're going to talk about today. Actually, after a visual examination, I realized that, well, it's just a nail. All the others are absolutely healthy. Right here, visually, it looks like maybe he got a splinter or, well, I don't know, maybe something got under his nail or he bumped it somewhere. Well, in general, it looks like some kind of injury at first glance. Of course, he didn't remember any injury. He says that as far as he knows, he didn't bump it anywhere or pinch it. But again, let's keep in mind that men usually don't pay much attention to things like this. And he also agreed that maybe at some point something might have happened. And he complains that for about a year and a half, every 2 weeks or so, pus comes out from under his nail. Can you imagine? So basically nothing much is happening. It's just that about once every 2 weeks he feels some discomfort, and when he presses on it, a little pus comes out from under the nail plate. And this is a vicious cycle that doesn't stop. Of course, I suggested that he clean it up a little, to which he said that he had already seen both a surgeon and a podiatrist in his life. By the way, the surgeon suggested a really cool thing. He said, let's just cut off part of the phalanx and everything will be fine. I was really surprised. He said, well, yeah, that's how we do things. That's the kind of methods surgeons use. Well, okay, who are we to judge surgeons? Of course, we're nobody because we're just manicurists and not doctors. I suggested to him to do a little cleaning. He agreed. He said, although I've already had it done. I asked if he might have a photo of how it looked, but he said unfortunately he doesn't have any photos. But the finger looks more or less like this on a regular basis. What did I do? I took my device, by the way. I'm currently working with the SP130 device. And with the help of a carbide burr, I carefully treat the nail plate. Before that, I thinned it out and trimmed it with straight edge nippers, the ones I use for ingrown nails. And then after cutting with the nippers, I go over it again with the burr and then once more with the nippers. And I repeat this process until I achieve the desired result. While cleaning, we discovered that there was a small hole or some kind of tunnel. He decided to show me how he squeezes out the pus. Look, this is how he does it. From the growth zone, from the matrix area, by pressing hard like this, he releases the pus from there. It looks, of course, well, how can I put it? Quite traumatic in my opinion. He presses really, really hard, but he says that after this procedure, he feels real relief. But the worst part is that this is some kind of system. I mean, it happens every single 2 weeks. After the teaser I released for this video, of course, experts, doctors, podologists, all sorts of people wrote to me saying that there might be a serious inflammation here. I'll put the name of the diagnosis on the screen, and in general, this is no joke. Even during my conversation with him and while cleaning, I also thought that most likely there's some kind of infection there that's constantly causing this inflammation. And I told him that, of course, this issue needs to be addressed. At the end, I'll attach screenshots of our conversation because I'm still in touch with him. Because the man is very worried. And during the procedure, even though it didn't hurt, he was really tensing up and pressing himself in. And I felt really sorry for him. I understand that something is happening to the person. It's unfamiliar to him. And of course, he's very scared. And the first thing I did after working with him was, of course, to look up the possible diagnosis. Well, I went online and started searching for a description of this condition on medical websites. Yes, it really does happen, it turns out. It could be inflammation. The danger is that it can reach the bone and then the bone will start to deteriorate. Because obviously during the cleaning stage, it became clear that it wasn't something under the nail plate, but something inside. Because the further we went with it, the more it became clear that there was a little hole inside. Well, I would even call it a burrow or a tunnel, meaning something that goes at an angle inside the finger phalanx. And of course, this made both me and him, even more so, very worried. He was really nervous. I got anxious myself, thinking I scared the person, but on the other hand, it's better to scare them. And let him go and get everything checked, an X-ray, and magnetic resonance imaging, and an ultrasound. I also recommended that he do all types of examinations possible. Because, well, while the surgeons were examining him, they were only suggesting all sorts of inadequate methods and a series of amputations. But I believe that first we need to figure out how deep the damage is, or maybe there isn't any at all. That's why I sent him to other doctors and advised him to see another surgeon. Not necessarily to that one, but definitely to see a dermatologist as well. Because I understand that treatment is needed here, most likely antibiotics, but since we're not doctors and I don't know much about antibiotics and shouldn't have to. Of course, I didn't give him any advice. The only thing I did at the end was apply a bandage with a flomelit ointment. And I want to say right away that even if you buy this ointment at the pharmacy, it only reduces inflammation. That is, it won't actually treat anything. We just use it as an auxiliary remedy. Of course, you need to see a doctor. The other question is, where do you find such a doctor? Because I'm constantly being accused that, Elena, you're always criticizing doctors, you keep saying they're incompetent, something else, something else. And if you look at the correspondence at the end, you'll see that the doctor prescribed him nothing, absolutely, absolutely nothing. So today, January 26th, there was one visit at 11. He already had a magnetic resonance imaging there, did an x-ray, saw a surgeon, and in the end the doctor said he didn't see any reason to prescribe him anything. The person has had inflammation for a year and a half, systematically every 2 weeks, and she just doesn't see anything wrong with that. Well, think for yourselves, write comments. You can go ahead and criticize me like you usually do. Well, honestly, I think it's really strange that you have to go searching for a doctor, that you basically have to hunt one down, you know? It shouldn't be like that. People keep telling me, find a good doctor, but what kind of good doctor is there if this is always the result? By the way, this is a close-up of that very hole, so you can see it here. He says that let's do a little more, just a little more cleaning. Well, we shouldn't have done a little more because we already hit a capillary there. Now everyone will rub their hands. Who likes to gloat over my videos? But I want to tell you, go ahead and try to clean out such a tiny little hole yourself, and then we'll talk about it, and we'll talk on equal terms. So now there will be a combat wound, so to speak. Here it is, it happened. But after this, I'll show you a photo of what it looks like after almost 2 weeks. Yes, that's about right. So the person is fine, it's healing slowly, and this is the little hole we ended up with. Now, in the still frame, you can see it very clearly, and you'll notice that it goes deep inside and angles downward. So this is the result of our cleaning, the result of our work. Now, screenshots from the conversation will start appearing. And unfortunately, that's all I can show you from our conversation for now, and nothing has changed so far. Here, he's doing targeted butts. This one's red, it's betadine, just so you know, everything is fine. Doctor's opinions. Yes, we're attaching the diagnosis here as well. You can just pause if you want to read it. Here are the x-rays. He sent everything, and there's a magnetic resonance imaging too. Everything will be at the end. So in short, the doctor doesn't see any reasons. Everything is fine, and he didn't prescribe anything. And that's the story. So write your opinion in the comments. Maybe someone has experienced something like this. Maybe someone has a different experience. I did what I could do, and I continue to keep in touch with him. That's the story. She said she doesn't see the point. That's all for now. That's it from me. This was Elena with you, and bye-bye. Subtitles created by...